Here's a segment from a recent Gun Talk radio episode. You can listen to all the Gun Talk radio podcasts however you tune in, or check out guntalk.com for more. We're joined right now by the relatively new executive director of Second Amendment Foundation, Adam Kraut. Hey, how you doing, man? Oh, let's turn on your phone.
I was muted, so I was great, but now I'm talking.
It was so good when you were muted.
Yeah, silence is golden, right?
Yeah, there you go. So, all right, so we're wrapping this thing up right now.
Yes.
What's your takeaway from this GRPC?
Well, I think this GRPC was well attended. There was a variety of not only groups and individuals from all walks of the gun-owning community here, but also the speakers, the number of speakers and the caliber of people up on stage. You know, one of the attractions to the event, I think, is that you have the people who are at the forefront of the Second Amendment rights movement on stage talking about the work that they're currently doing. So the people that are litigating the cases, the people that are involved in their legislatures, the people that are doing the research that drives all of this.
Right.
And you get an opportunity to also talk to them in person.
Yeah, I mean, you can just sit around, during the breaks, and you can talk to the very leaders. I mean, the movers and shakers, the heavy thinkers, the people who are doing the heavy lifting out there. I call it walking among giants because, I mean, I'm looking at, we got Chuck Michelle walking around out here, which we're all like running and doing high fives after Friday, right?
Yes.
You had the Duncan decision came down in California.
Yes.
You want to give the cliff notes on that one, what that was?
No, I don't.
Okay.
It was the California Magazine band capacity. It was
Thanks so much for the help on that.
You're welcome. And that was out of Judge Benitez's court. There was a 10-day self-imposed injunction that he put in at the end of that order. I saw there was a notice of appeal filed on that already, which is no surprise. And we'll see where that one goes.
But for those who, I would recommend anybody who has slightest interest in this, go find that decision and read it. It's an amazing decision. The writing on it, and don't skip the not the cliff notes, the footnotes. The footnotes are amazing. It's like in the footnotes, the judge has written detailed descriptions of self-defense gun uses.
Yes.
And said, okay, so this woman would not have been able to defend herself if she'd been limited to 10 rounds, and given examples of all this. It's like he's doing his own research.
Well, there is some interesting things that have been put before the court, and, they are in the footnotes.
Yeah, interesting stuff. So the interesting part about that, another part of that case is that was decided, I think, in 2017. And it just it's like it's gone to the Ninth Circuit, 3-judge panel, then en banc, then to the Supreme Court, which after Bruin remanded it, sent it back down to the Ninth Circuit, which sent it back down to Judge Benitez. So he starts off his decision, here we go again, basically.
That's kind of what it is.
Yeah, it's kind of here, okay, we're going to start the process again, and it'll work its way through another appeal series.
Yes.
Okay, but it was really fun to read. And it was, and I realize it's temporary, we don't know what's going to happen with it, but it was, in my view, it was a pretty good win.
Yeah, no, it absolutely was. There's plenty more we're waiting on coming out of his court.
Yeah, well, I mean, Second Amendment Foundation is involved in more than 50 lawsuits now?
We have 54.
54 lawsuits. I don't even know how you keep it all straight.
I don't either. There's a spreadsheet I try to keep it straight on, but...
Right. Overall, I mean, I know people ask you, are we winning? Are we losing? Are we just breaking even? Where are we?
I think we're winning. I think we're winning. You're seeing courts that have even Democratic appointed judges that are pardon me, I can't talk today. Correctly concluding, post Bruin, that the laws that are being brought in front of them are in fact unconstitutional, and sometimes in decisions that are a little. You wouldn't have expected that, certainly under the old case law that was at the time. You have judges, and it depends where you are, but you have judges finding, some of these prohibitions, on 922G3 prohibitions against unlawful users are unconstitutional. You're seeing things in the context of, the domestic violence restraining orders. Rahimi being up at the Supreme Court now from the Fifth Circuit. So I would say overall with the case, with Bruin and the cases that are being decided, overall we're winning. Some of it is being stayed, those wins, while the circuit courts sort it out. But right. I think ultimately they're going to have to come to the same conclusions, particularly in the sensitive places cases.
Right. And then you talk about the speakers here. You mentioned Rahimi. You had Mark Smith, or as I call him, Mark Red Bull Smith, Four Boxes Diner. I mean, the guy who never met a cup of decaf. And he is so wired up, but delivered a really good talk on the Rahimi case, a lot of different aspects of it. And honestly, to be clear, some of it, you got to be pretty geeky about this stuff to get into it.
There's no doubt.
Yeah. But it's pretty interesting too, if you are.
Yes, I certainly. If it is of any interest to you, it is fascinating stuff. You just do have to be a little nerdy, and I myself will admit I am a nerd, which is why I like reading it.
Come on, you are a lawyer. You work on Second Amendment stuff, so this is right up your alley.
Yes,
this is what you do. What was interesting to me was how many, when I was emceeing the luncheon, I said, all right, how many are at their first GRPC? Had to be half.
Good.
People who come to their first GRPC, and it does move around the country, so
yes.
It makes it easier to attend. But there were also a bunch of people here who came from all over the country. I mean, they made up the pilgrimage, including some of the first-timers.
Yes. Yeah, I talked to a number of people that it was their first time too, and they all had very positive things to say, particularly about the presentations that they were getting. One of the things that one of the Epic Times reporters asked me yesterday was, well, this is all great information if you're here, but what about the people who aren't here? So there's two ways, actually. One of the things I explained to him was the attendees who did get the experience certainly share that information with their family and friends in conversations, whether it's pro-gun people, anti-gun people, it doesn't really matter. Just share the information. The other thing is the event was live streamed, and it is going to be archived on SAF's YouTube channel. So if there are speakers, and we're going to cut up the videos so that it's speaker by speaker to make things easier. So if there is a particular, speaker or topic that one of your listeners would like to have the opportunity to listen to, they will actually be able to do that without having been able to attend.
And I would encourage people to check that out, because once you start watching and listening, you're going to go, wow, that's some powerful stuff. I'm learning things at every turn. Every time somebody's up there giving a talk, and they're short talks. That's the other thing I liked. I mean, we're talking, for the most part, 15 minutes each, roughly. There were a couple that were 30 minutes because they needed that for the time. But it's like they're short, bite-sized. You can get in, you can get out.
Easily digestible.
There you go. I like it. Snackable. Digital snacks. There we go. So where do we go from here?
Well, I go back home.
I'm out of here.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. We have a number of cases that we're still evaluating to line up to file. And of course, when governments do stupid things, California being the most recent example. And
they are going to.
Yes.
So what did California just do?
Well, SB2, their sensitive places case, sensitive places law. Our case was filed shortly,
because it's coming.
Last week, I think, week before. But they're the fifth state to do this.
Right.
We have, or fourth maybe. We have
post-brew and tantrum.
Right, post-brew and tantrum. And what the interesting thing about it is, they've seen the result of these other cases, at least as far as the district courts, because the circuit courts still haven't really done anything yet. But the preliminary injunctions that have been granted in this, why would you continue to pass laws that clearly are beyond the scope?
It's going to get slapped down.
Right.
You know that's going to happen.
Right.
Well, why? The question is, okay, then why? Is that just Gavin Newsom grandstanding?
Yeah, I think so. Clearly there's political gain. It allows them to go back to their constituents and say, we did something, and it's the courts that are the problem.
Yeah, bad old courts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and that is campaign fodder.
Yeah. And you saw with Gavin Newsom yesterday with his release about Benitez. I caught it this morning.
It was ugly.
He had some choice words about Benitez in that decision in Duncan.
Yeah.
And I suspect he's going to have some more choice words when a few more decisions come out of that court.
He's going to keep losing, and he's just going to keep throwing his tantrums. Mm-hmm. But eventually, the key phrase there is he is going to keep losing.
I sure as heck hope so.
And we're going to do everything we can to make that happen.
I will happily assist in that.
There you go. And the Second Amendment Foundation, of course, is in the lead of an awful lot of these cases. And I'm just going to put out the pitch here. It's not for you, for me. If you want to help, if you want to say, hey, I'm doing something for the Second Amendment, you can join SAF. You can donate to SAF. God, I couldn't believe it. Yesterday, we had an anonymous donor walk up and handed Alan a check for $20,000.
Yes.
It's like just out of the blue. Didn't want people to know who he was. I don't know who he is, but holy cow. I mean, that's the kind of thing that can move this thing forward.
I mean, that helps. Lawsuits are not inexpensive.
No.
And they're long-term endeavors. They're not quick.
That's a good point. And just because you win today doesn't mean we're not going to have to fight the same thing next year and the next year, because that's been the history of it.
Unfortunately true.
There you go. Adam Kraut, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And thank you for this amazing GRPC.
I'm just a cog in the machine.
Yeah, I hear you. I think it's a little bit more than that. All right. You have a safe trip back.
Thank you.